Yo, what's going on? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It's time for another live stream. Guys, my brain just stopped working for a second there. I forgot where I was. I think I was swallowing water at the same time I was trying to think, and my brain stopped working. But anyway, it is time for another live stream. Today is Monday, June 9th, 2025. Over the weekend, I ran the first Fast 5K in New York. It was a really fun day. I ran a fast time, but there's some stuff I think we need to think about, need to talk about the race. Other than like, I had a good time. It was a lot of fun. The event was super cool, but there's like a little thing I think we need to talk about, and we'll get into it. But first, let's say hi to everyone listening on the audio only version on the podcast. Hopefully you guys are having a good run out there today. The weather is beautiful in Crystal Lake. It was chilly for this morning. My daughter had the first day of her summer running camp. I had to drop her off, and then I forgot that there was like a parents meeting that I had to go to like be there for. It wasn't really like a big meeting, but it was kind of like an intro to the camp so the parents know what to expect for the kids. And I felt bad because my daughter's like, "Hey, do you think I need another warm layer today?" As we were leaving, I was like, "No, it's fine. It's summertime. You gonna wear a sweatshirt? Remember how hot this event is?" And then we got there and it was like breezy, and we're all standing around, and the coach is chatting and stuff, and explaining the camp and how it's going to work. And it was cold, and my daughter was shivering, and I felt bad. But then I went on my run, and which was a couple hours later, and it was real nice. So it's about as good as you can ask for June weather. And we are 12 weeks away from Sydney Marathon. So I guess I'm week 1, day 1 training plan, technically speaking. All right. And everyone else watching this later, but not live, welcome to the #1 internet radio show for runners. That's neither on the radio, but it is for runners. Oh, guys, I'm off today. Something's not right. Everything that I normally say is not falling off the tongue. I need a reset, I think. Okay. All right, let's see who we have there to chat. Sean Devon said, Kovacs had to let my daughter borrow his Boston Marathon jacket. No, I did not have to do that, because you know what my daughter did? My daughter today, she decided she was going to wear her state track meet t-shirt to the first day of running camp, because she wanted to let kids know that she was fast. So she did the junior high school version of the Boston Marathon jacket. So she could take care of herself. Scott Finger ran the Run for the Zoo 5K in Lincoln Park yesterday. Oh, that's a fun one. That's a really fun one. Did anyone get dressed up for that? When I've seen it before, I don't think I've ever run it. Maybe I've run it once years ago, but I've always been by as they're running it. And a lot of times people wear animal costumes when they do that. Mark Peterson says, she's there to establish dominance. She knows the rules. Yeah, she was for sure. I think part of it too is that coach mandated a 2-week. He actually gave instructions for a 3-week no running break. And it's been 2 weeks since the end of her season. But the track coach said, you could start week 1 of your camp, just take it easy. And so I think part of it is she hasn't been running, and so she's worried that she's not fit anymore. And so she still wanted people to know, hey, I might be slow today, but I'm not always slow. Kieran Pearson says, hey, I hope everyone's well. I recently got a pair of Glycerin Max, but they're rubbing against my right arch, and I got a big blister. And anyone else have a similar experience? Does the shoe improve? I did not have that experience in the Glycerin Max. I used to get that a lot in the Pegasus. The Nike Pegasus was a shoe that would do that to me all the time. And for me, it would clear up by like the second run. If it doesn't clear up like relatively soon, which it might not, because these are different foams involved. Because one of my arches is lower than the other. And so I think it was just poking me in the arch. But it kind of presses down a little bit. But those old Pegasuses were Cushlon, where the Glycerin Max is a nitro foam, and so those are going to behave a little differently. So I would say if it doesn't change in the first 2 runs, maybe just see if you can get an exchange, All right, here we go. All right, so I guess we'll do this. Patrick is saying, congrats on the PR, and I'm going to ring the PR bell for myself. Is it this one? Because Oh boy. See, I told you I'm off. I'm knocking my cables loose and everything. So, while I did hit a PR, I ran the first to fast 5K. My gun time was 18:19. Chip time was 18:17. But I think the course was a little bit short. And at first I was like, we were running under like an overpass for a long time and we're in New York, so who knows? But everyone that I kind of talked to had the same, not the same, but there was other people that had short distances on their watch. And so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to it. And I knew going into it that it wasn't a USATF measured course. Because, like when you do a 5K, in the information, it'll be like, here's the distance, here's the elevation profile, here's the USATF measured, and there's like a receipt number, for like the person that measured it. And not every 5K, a lot of 5K races don't have that. And so I knew that, okay, well, it's not a certified course, but I'm sure it'll be 5K. But my watch came in at 2.99 miles. And so that is a big difference. I've had 5Ks come in short before. I had a color run that I did years ago. That wasn't even chip time though, but it was a color run, and that was like 2.75 miles. It was super, super short. But this is, about 200 meters short, 180 meters short maybe. And so, yeah, that's a noticeable amount. And I think I know what happened. But yeah, so that's something to be aware of. And like, I don't like to do conversions and be like, well, if it was the correct distance, here's what I would have run. And so it's still a PR or it isn't PR. It is what it is. But I will take the congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate your good intentions. And you guys, wishing me well. But yeah, I think it was a little bit short. I'm not too upset about it. I'm not crazy about the 5K distance, and it's not something that I'm going to be using to qualify for something else, But it is, I think, a big deal. But I don't know that it was Strava's. Strava. I don't know. Well, I guess Strava. I don't know that it was runner's fault, and we can get into that. I guess we should get into it right now. Yeah, because Frank wants to know what the distance was. 2.99 miles. But yeah, so Calvin says, my local 4-mile race was way short when I finished with 3.78 miles showing with no tall buildings nearby and only one underpass. Yeah. Yeah, that one's definitely short. When I did that color run, that was in Lincoln Park, so there's no big buildings. That would have been in the way for that one. Benjamin David says, after years of marathons coming in at like 26.87, you're owed a bunch of tenths. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's kind of like a bank error in your favor. You get to keep the money, I guess, if it's a monopoly thing. But, technically, I don't know if I'm going to count it as a PB, but I feel like I got in PB area fitness and I feel good. And I feel like as far as answering the question of can run a work for someone who's done a lot of training plans before and has been coached by a couple of different humans before and has done running plans downloaded from the internet, plans taken from running books, written their own plans. I feel like, it answers the question of it can get you fit. And the answer is yes, yeah. Patrick says, it was short, but we ran the course that was provided, and a win is a win. Yeah, it was a good day though. I had a good time running the race. The atmosphere for this race was super chill and it was really nice and inviting. My sister came down and she brought my kids and her kids as well. And I was glad that she came too, because like there's just times where I kind of wander off and I have to do my own thing. And the older two kids, they could kind of, it was a tight enough space where I felt like they were fine wandering on their own, but the younger ones definitely needed some supervision. And my sister took care of that. But there was a bagel truck that had really good bagels. Even my sister, who is a bagel snob, really enjoyed the bagels. She said it was maybe a top 10 in the region level of bagel. It was good. And then there was free coffee. And then there was Athletic Brewing was there afterwards. You get your picture taken, and they print it out for you right away. I should have brought that picture. I don't have it down here with me. I don't think I do. So it was a nice atmosphere. Backdrop looked like it was pretty easy. For bathrooms, you could go into Icon Stadium and use the bathrooms there. So that's a bathroom system set up for a stadium's worth of people, or at least Icon Stadium amount of people, which was more than enough for the amount of people that were at this race. I got to run around the island. I ran with Patrick and Chris Chung for the warm-up, which was really nice. So it was cool. It was nice. It was a great way. And then they got everyone started with Lou Serafini put on like one of those microphones with like the little the mouthpiece on the front of it, like he's singing at a concert, and he was leading everybody in warm-ups, and he would do a different like a warm-up before each heat. And so the first heat was first time ever 5K runners, and then 30 minutes later the next heat went out, which was 30-minute plus runners, and then another 30 minutes, the 24 to 30 minute heat went out, and then everyone after that went out. So I was in the last heat. But it was super chill. Alex said the University City 5K in Philly is 2.76 miles and around a 24-minute PB. Nice work. There you go. Very cool. I didn't know that one is like that. Sebastian then says, congrats on the PR code. Did you think Run Out Training Plan helped you get there? I'm using the app to train for a half marathon in October. I think it definitely did. The hill sprints, I think, work, as much as I hate to admit it. Are there other ways you can get fit? Yes. Are there ways you can get fit that don't require hill sprints? Also, yes. But did the way that Run picked get me there? Yeah, I think so. It could get you fit. There's lots of ways to get fit. And some things people respond to more than others, but it got me in the range. Whether it was technically a PB or not, it got me in the range. So yeah, so I feel like it does a good enough job. It does a good enough job, Calvin says that it's a 5K race PR, may not be a 5K distance PR. Maybe that's splitting hairs a little bit, but I could see it. Super Unjit said, yo, what's going on? I ran a half marathon last week and finished 1:50:06, which was a 4-minute PR for me. Congratulations. Almost cracked sub 150. Had a great training block. If you just ran 7 seconds faster, you would have been there. Yeah. Steven76 says, what happened? Was the measuring wheel not calibrated? I'm not sure what happened. Here, I got my Strava up here. So let me share it with you guys. I could show you what I think happened. So let me go to my training log. Are you guys looking at? You're not. You guys aren't looking at this. Okay. So I just went for a run today. But here's the race. So here we go. Is that big enough? Do I need to zoom in? I think that's big enough. So if we go to the overview, by the way, I don't know what all this stuff is. Display elevate extended stats. I've never seen that before. I know there's been some changes happening to Strava, but I've never seen those before. I don't know. But anyway, if we go down to the map, so I think what happened is down here. So I remember them saying that like let's do it this way. I can't do it side by side. I don't like these ways of doing it. I'm trying to figure out which layout I want for this. I don't like this layout either. But anyway, I think this will show us what we needed to see. Okay. So if we're looking at this, right? So you can see that the race loop was supposed to be an out and back. We started like underneath an overpass, I don't know if you've been to Randall's Island, but where the parking is by Icon Stadium, we started underneath there, and then we ran through like dirt, which was a surprise. It was like dirt and gravel. It was soft, but not like as crazy soft as like a gravel road could be, but it was soft. And then we got out onto like the walking path, and then we hooked around the south of the island, got to the bridge, turned around at the bridge, and then came back. And I don't know, either they measured it short or what happened is on over here. So down here, if you look at it, it splits off. And what that split off is so there's two paths down here. Right now, I specifically remember, see how it says Black Lives Matter there? I specifically remember running over that. So the first thing I thought was, oh, well, maybe my GPS was messed up and it just thought that I went back a different route than I came, when in actuality, maybe I ran the correct way back. And it just hugged a line that I actually didn't run, and it shorted me some distance. I thought maybe that was it. But my paces were off from what I was seeing. You know, what I was like when I would cross 2 miles, it said like 12 minutes. And I was like, I don't think that's right. I feel like I'm a little slower than 6-minute pace for those 2 miles. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe that's about right, but I'm not sure. But I tried to ignore it. I didn't actually look at the paces too much because they weren't good. I was dying. But anyway, and I thought, so maybe that's what it is, and maybe it was correctly measured. But if we go back to like the satellite map, you could see that, like, here's where it says Black Lives Matter. I remember running over that on the way back, but not on the way down. And that one that's on the right, that one, let me make it bigger. There we go. The one that's on the right, that's the bike path. The one that's on the left is like the walking path. Now, there were cones set out so they keep us on one side of it. And I expected that maybe we were just going to come back on that side. But we came back on the side of the bike path. And I think that's kind of like the inside lane, if you think about it, for like over a mile. And I don't know if that's the difference between 3.12 and or 3.10 and 2.99, you know? So that's my theory on what happened. Because lots of people felt like it came in a little bit short. Some people had different numbers of how short it was, but I think that's what happened, you know? Run Tommy says, a USATF quote-unquote certified course I did recently in Oldsmar was 3.26, a little long. A lot of runners were a little miffed. I was just imagining the old guy out there with the wheel of truth measuring the course. Stephen C. 1984 says, if you run a 5K somewhere in between 1817 and 1852, will you claim this as a new 5K PB, or do you have to beat 1817 now? Well, what would make it easier is if I just run another 5K and I run faster than 1817. But 1817, I don't know. I don't know. There might be some value in me hopping in another race at some point over the summer, maybe during marathon training. Yes, it'll be during marathon training, but like if I could do it relatively soon, like in the next month or so, maybe I'll have some early miles on the legs, but still coming off of some 5K specific training. Because I just think that like the mental aspect of it was what's holding me back, plus going out a little hard. Those two things put together, I think, kind of screwed me up. But yeah, that would be the easiest thing. The hard thing is if, let's say I run, you know, again, and I do an 1830, I'll probably call the 1830 my real PR and be like, you know, I think I might be able to run something closer to an 1817, but ... So I think it just kind of makes things a little bit awkward. That's kind of stinks. But ultimately I had a good time out there and I don't really care about the numbers all that much. Philip Watts ran a race this weekend. Baltimore 10 miler, 121.50. Nice. Very hilly course. Last mile is all uphill. That's Baltimore. Baltimore's such a mean place to run. I feel like places that are hot and hilly, that's not fair. Baltimore, Atlanta. I can't think of many other places that are both hot and hilly, but those are two. It's just not fair. Mark says, I used to run a mustache run 5K, coinciding with November. That was always like 3.5 miles because they didn't want to have different finish lines for the 10K and half marathon also happening that day. That's really funny. It's like we're lazy. So instead of having everyone start and stop. But I mean, I guess like from like setting up timing mats and stuff, that could make things a lot cheaper to do it that way. Al Davino says, so been my question forever. Who is accurate, Garmin or Strava? Nothing worse than Garmin showing 20 miles and Strava 19.99. Hate that Strava tax. Yeah, well, I think that the answer is it's Garmin. Strava is not independently measuring your route. The difference between what Garmin records and what Strava reports, I think, is the way that their algorithms interpret the raw GPS data. So the tracing that you see is not what Strava brings over. The data that gets imported into Strava, I think, is just like a table, or table is not maybe not the right word from a programming perspective, but like a list of at this many minutes and this many seconds, here was the GPS position. At this many minutes, this many seconds, here was the GPS position. And then each app, Garmin or Strava, does its own data smoothing in terms of figuring out like, oh, was this a real one? Or how, do we curve the line in between these 3, 4, 5 points? Or do we make it jagged and straight, hard corners, like, and so there's things like that each app handles different. I don't know why. I guess maybe because Garmin won't send that data to Strava or what, I don't know. But you would also think that if that were the case, that at some point Strava would give you more, but I don't know. So I'm not sure that's my theory, is that each takes the raw data and interpolates its own GPS tracing on it. And sometimes the Strava one is a little bit short based on the way it's connecting the dots in between the actual dots, So I think that like your Strava is only going to be as accurate as your Garmin or your Coros or Polar or Sunto or whatever. The reason why the total numbers are different is because I think of the way that they're handling the data. That's what I think. Eric says, yo, Kofuzi Run Club. On the 5K training, was there a particular workout that seemed useful or, dare I say, transformative? Great work again. I really hate to admit it, but the hill sprints made a difference. I feel like they're a nice combo because I never felt tired. And when I do a lot of speed work, my Achilles tends to flare up towards the end of a training block. And I didn't get that this time. I mean, now my Achilles is kind of tender today. I went on a run today and I had some strides in there and my Achilles was kind of growly. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're tired. Things are feeling strained. But during the training block, I never felt that. I think that's because the hill slows you down, but it's giving you a lot of work in a good way. That works for VO2 max type of efforts. The downside of that, though, is I think, for me, I didn't have like, not that I really would have wanted like mile repeats at 5K race pace. That seems crazy. But I feel like I didn't have mentally like the feeling of the burn that I need. And the thing is, I did do a 5K time trial like 5 weeks ago. So I guess that was just my own fault that I'm not good at that or I give up early. But I think the thing that actually worked was hill sprints. I really hate to admit it, but I think it was the hill sprints. Johnny Dodgen says, are you going to use Runner for the Sydney buildup? I really enjoy the training video diaries. It'd be nice to see them continue. I don't know if I'm going to do one for Runner. I don't know if my team has reached out to them or not. So like I tried to reach out to Runner about doing a training series for Sydney because I knew that I'd be doing it like a long time ago. Before I started this 5K block is when I was like, hey, do you guys want to, or at least I talked to my management, like, can we reach out to Runner and see if they want to do that? Or maybe Runner reach out to us. I want to do something else. And I was like, how about Sydney? And they were like, how about this 5K in June? And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that seems weird, but because you'd think they'd want me to do a marathon one with them, but they wanted me to do a 5K one. But I'm like, I do want to do a 5K. So perfect. But then I think after that agreement was signed, then the Strava Runner acquisition was announced. And so I don't know if they were trying to close some deals while they could before stuff happened, And so now I don't know. Like I've talked to my management. I have a meeting with them Wednesday, I think. So I might get some updates then. And I can always ask them now, but I'm not in a rush. But I'm still filming everything every day. So it's not like I really need to know. I'd like to do some sort of training series for Sydney. It's going to be weird because we're already 12 weeks out, and so I'm already like technically this is week 1, right? And even then, it's a very abridged training block. But I just came off of 12 weeks of 5K training, so it's not that big a deal. But I'd like to do some sort of training series for Sydney. And again, I think I'm going to do it where it's like 4 videos or 3 videos, like the month before the race, and then a video after the race. But I will have to see if Rana is interested in me doing it a third time. I don't know if there's still value in that, because I feel like I've proved my point, I think, which is, yeah, Rana can help couch to 5K types, people that just want to do their first park run, which I don't know. Do people are park runs always accurate? I don't know if maybe that's just a thing where like people aren't as concerned about like the to the meter 5,000 accuracy. But anyway, side note. But so I think people came in thinking that like, yeah, Runa is great for noobs, but now like my thing that I wanted to prove is, and it could be good for people who are more experienced runners. So I don't know if we're done. I wouldn't mind doing a run training plan. There's also some stuff that I'd like to tinker around with, some thoughts that I have on training that I'd like to play around with a little bit, given that it's a summer training block and I struggled so hard training for Berlin last summer. I just don't run well in the summer. So we'll see. So even if I'm like self-coached for this time or I'm doing run, like I'd like to have someone sponsor a training series because I probably won't make it if I don't have a sponsor for it. Instead, I'll just make shoe review videos and train and then enjoy summer a little bit more. But so I hope I'm open to it, but I don't have any information on that yet. So yeah, Magic says about the first to 5K. So there was this tall dude, really tall, skinny looking dude. Looked like he just stepped out of a Satisfy running ad. And my daughter, who has been hounding me because she thinks she's faster than me now, and she probably is. She's like, "Do you think you're going to win here, Dad?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." Just because it's called First to 5K and they're trying to make a special experience for first-time 5K runners doesn't mean it's New York. There's fast people in every race. There's someone here that like ran in college D1. You know what I mean? And so like, if not multiple people, and they might just be showing, and they could jog it faster than I could race it, So like that doesn't matter what kind of race it is. It's New York. It's a big city, so there's gonna be fast people. And she's like, "Dad, I think that guy's your biggest competition." I'm like, there's many people who can run faster than me, and they might not look like they can run faster than me because they're not wearing brand new straight out of the box Puma racing shoes. But there's people who are faster than me. She's like, "Yeah, but that guy looks faster than you." And I was like, "I think he is. I think he's faster than me a lot." And this is this guy, Tommy Ross, or Rose, that Patrick knows. He ran with the first heat, and he won it in 7. He's like a 17-minute 5K guy. He ran it like 17 something. I think maybe it was a 16 something. He says, Patrick says he ran with the first heat on accident and finished way before everyone else. Yeah, I feel like I thought he was a pacer. Because he had a team run a singlet on. So I thought he was pacing maybe one of the pace groups for this. But he went out hard and I was like, oh, he's gonna run it. So there was people in like all different kinds of. I think when you sign up for it, it was like, is this your first 5K? There's like a checkbox, I think. And I think maybe he thought it was if this is your first 5K with Runa or first Runa event. I don't know. Maybe. Kieran Peterson says, "Does this experience make you want to try for a potential PR at Sydney?" No, not at all. Because number one, I think the training is going to be hot all summer, and I'm not great at that. It's a weakness of mine that I'm hoping to work on this summer, or try to figure out some coping mechanism strategies. Which is why I have some ideas on things that I'd like to tinker around with. So not having a structured training plan written by someone else would be kind of fun for me, so I can experiment. And then Sydney's going to still, even though I guess it's winter for them there in August 31st, I still think it's going to be hot. Last year's Sydney, or 2 years ago, was like 70 something degrees at the finish and humid and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. So it's hillier than New York. It's hotter than any of the other majors, and I'll have to train through the summer to get there. So I'm not going to try for a PR right now. My secret goal is to beat Dina Castor. I don't know what kind of shape she's in, but she let me know that she's going to be training to run a hard race in Sydney, and was kind of like, "You want to race?" And I was like, no, but I might be secret racing Tina Castor in Sydney. Yeah. But I think I do want to run hard. I want to be able to run hard and have a good effort out there and feel like I pushed. Kind of like Berlin. Berlin wasn't a PR, but I felt like I executed really well for my fitness and for the temperature conditions of the day. Would I love to have that time be faster? Sure. Do I have a time goal in mind for Sydney? Yeah, maybe like, I certainly like B goal would be to BQ. But I'm in the 45 to 40 or 46 to 40, 45 to 49-year-old age group now. So the time is, I have a little bit more time there. So maybe I'd like to just BQ. Maybe that'd be the A goal. B goal sounds right. A goal would be like under 310 maybe. I don't know what the BQ is for my age, but that's kind of what I'm thinking so far. Patrick wants to know, what if Strava/Runna made the course short so that we all hit the very aggressive predicted times? Yeah, I don't think that they would do that. Yeah, because we don't need vanity metrics in this sport, So Frank says, with that thing that I was seeing on the side, I have the Elevate app installed. Is that what that is? When did I do that? Oh, I think I did that a long time ago. I just don't normally. Let's show it up on the screen. So here, how these stats? This they display Elevate extended stats. What are the extent? Oh, look at this. Oh yeah, recognize that logo. There's that logo in the upper left-hand corner. You see that? Like 3 mountains. Yeah, that's something I saw a long time ago. That's something that Strava acquired way back. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have the Elevate app installed. I just think that it's not installed on my I normally use Safari, and I don't think it's installed in Safari. So that's why I'm seeing this new stuff I haven't seen before. Eat cheese, Kobe. I like that. Are you saying Kobe should eat cheese? Or you're the eating cheese, or you're the Kobe of eating cheeses? I like to say you're the eat cheese Kobe. Not eat cheese, comma, Kobe. That's how I'm going to read it. Anyway, the eat cheese Kobe says, a used runner for the Brooklyn half went from 153 to 149 on a super hot and humid day. Nice work. So definitely think it works if you stick to the plan. I like it because it takes the thinking out of the plan. Yeah, it definitely does. And that helps. If like for nothing else, from like, even if you're going to tweak it a lot, because maybe you're experienced and you know kind of what workouts you like, it gives you kind of like a base framework, and then you can be like, all right, well, I don't like this, so I'm going to move this around here. And I know these kind of workouts don't really work for me, and I prefer this instead, so I might do that. So I feel like in that sense, it's kind of like, at least nothing, if nothing else, it takes a lot of fills in a lot of the squares for you, and then you can tinker around on some of the more important stuff if you want. Or you could just do it as is, follow the plan. Scott Bronner wants to know, off topic, are you running the Peachtree Road Race this year? Not this year. Tommy's going to be down there, and I feel like Tommy and I are never there at the same time. But maybe one year we'll make it down there at the same time. Calvin says, can't you see other people who ran the same race on Strava and see their GPS distances? Like normally, wait, let me see if I can do that. How do I turn this? How do I close this window? Now I'm looking at this Elevate extended stats, and I think because I zoomed in a lot, I don't know how to turn it off. Okay. Let me bring it back up. Okay, there's a lot of people here. 26 other people. What did they run? Byron. 2.96. Sophie. Questionable PB in a short in a short course. 2.98. Yeah, so everyone else pretty much ran the same, like, 2. Alan was out there. It was good to see Alan. What was Alan's? He won't run a quote-unquote 5K. 2.9. Theirs are shorter than mine by a lot. But yeah, mine was 2.99. Maybe I'm not running tangents as well. Sorry, I went the wrong way. Let's keep going. See what we got. Zach Cole, proof that gay people are faster than straight people in Pride Month. He ran a 2.98 mile. Oh, now I want to look at all the. I think I didn't know that you could see their titles. Okay. Yeah, Matthew Brown wrote. Guess the course was short. He ran at 3.03. So I think he's the closest to running 3.1. What is 5K? 3.11, 3.12. I think it's 3.10, right? Like 3.1095 or something like that. A lot of people run a quote unquote 5K. Well, maybe not a lot, but 2. No 3 mile marker, so I suspect they measured the race short. I remember seeing the 3 mile marker, but it was underneath the bridge. So I don't know. Which I guess that makes more sense. Maybe they set up the tent in the wrong spot? I don't know. But he had 3.00. Where's Chris Chung? I saw Chris Chung in here. You know what's weird is that the order is different for everyone that's in here. Like the order that the names are listed. I still think Zach Cole had the best one. Proof that gay people are faster. Here's Chris. Chris had 2.97. Yeah, look at this photo he got. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of what it felt like to run this. All right. Yeah, so that's what everyone else came in with. So it looks like the consensus is that it was a bit short. Mark says, Strava sent me a survey last week. You better believe that I let them know to make my list of shoes logical, or at the very least, make the order between desktop and phone app match. I agree. Someone else said something the other day on Strava, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to sign on to agree to that. No other idea. I'm not going to even acknowledge them. I mean, privately, maybe should I reach out to them, that person that I like your idea. But I have discipline of message. One message and one message only. Alphabetize the shoe list. That's what I think. Dangberry says 550 first mile. Yeah, that's what I had, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what I had. Yeah, I went out hard. I shouldn't. I just got carried away. I didn't think I was going out that hard, but it was also slightly uphill. And so yeah. So when I went out with the group, yeah, let me pull that up again. Yeah, I was not running all that smartly. And then I realized, oh, this is way too fast because, yeah. And then I slowed down to like 550s, I think. So I settled in 550s, which was still hard. And then I was like, this is hard. We haven't even hit 1 mile yet. And I slowed down a little bit. And then I think maybe there was a little bit of a hill. No, yeah, there was a little bit of a hill. So that's probably what that was. And then slowly it started to deteriorate. And I was just like, there was another little hill there. And so that hurt. But then I felt like I closed hard. There was a hill, and then you turned it down, and then you could see the finish from a real far away. So that was good. So I'm closing at 5:33 pace. Not bad. I didn't hold that for very long, but I think that was just coming through at the finish. But yeah, I mean, who knows what I could have done. I don't know. We'll see. We'll never know, I guess. Well, I guess I could just line up again and try and run another one. So, Calvin says, should I do the Tracksmith Twilight? The one, so there's Trials of Miles had 5,000 meters. I think it's Trials of Miles is doing 5,000 meters at Icon Stadium, but it's next week. So I'm already gone. The Tracksmith Twilights are never when I'm around for some reason. It's always bad timing. So yeah, Runner Will was there. Runner Will was there. It was good to see him. He gave me a big hug. Will gives good hugs, and really good to see him. And he came in at 299. That's how I came in too. Yeah. All right. Vanessa Martinez says best men's tank tops for gym, Father's Day gift. Adidas, Nike, Rabbit, etc. Breathable and quick drying. I would say that a lot of the singlets that I like for running, I wouldn't use in the gym because if you're doing squats, the knurling that's on the bar, if there's a center knurl, which knurl? I don't know what it is. How am I getting all scratched? I get scratched up if I wear running tank tops in the gym sometimes. I guess it's from that. I don't know what. Yeah, it's got to be. Maybe it's not even the knurl. Maybe it's just the weight of the bar on it. But I feel like it rubs against that kind of mesh. Now I know Tracksmith just came out with like muscle tees, which is a weird sentence to say. But they made that like stuff there's a gym collection that they just made, which could be real nice. Those are like kind of like their running t-shirts, which it's not like pure polyester, doesn't feel like dry fit, and it feels more like cotton, but it's not cotton, that kind of shirt. So that's the kind of material that they have there. And it's got like a nice trim on it too, which might keep a little bit of pressure off of the core, like the full width of that shoulder. So it doesn't get all torn up. But so I wouldn't use like a Rabbit singlet. Adidas stuff, some of their stuff, I don't love a lot of Adidas singlets because I feel like they're too thick and too like rough of a material, not delicate enough. And so that actually might be a better fit, a better option, like just like the regular Adidas running singlets, not like the Adizero brand of singlets, but just the regular Adidas ones. Those might be a good option. Puma makes a lot of like muscle tee and singlet style that are like kind of t-shirty but quick dry material, so that could be another one too. I think, yeah, I want to say Path Projects used to make a muscle tee, I think because Billy Yang likes them, but I think they stopped making that. I don't know. Yeah, Eric says Strava doesn't measure anything. It just converts the data from Garmin, and there is an API. So we're going back to Strava versus Garmin. Strava doesn't measure anything. It just converts the data from the Garmin, and there is an API code issue there. Okay. I think that's different than what I was saying, but I agree with the first part that Strava doesn't measure anything. It just takes data, and then it does something to the data. I think what I was saying is the same as what you were saying in that first sentence, but the second sentence is different. But yeah. Adam says, sometimes I purposely end runs at 0.98 or 0.99 just to piss off friends. I don't say that I personally do it, but if I'm at 9.8 and I'm done, I'm done. I don't care. Like the regular loop that I do is like 4.48 or 4.49 miles long. And if I do it twice, it ends me at like 8, anywhere between, depending on where I start or kind of where I finish. It's like I'll end between 8.96 and 8.98. Sometimes I will go to 9 because I'm like, it's 5 more steps to get to 9. And then I do it right at 9 because then maybe the Strava tax kicks in and then you get the 8.99, which is funny. But a lot of times I just stop. Let's see what did I do today? I did that run today. We could pull it up since we got my Strava up here today. Activities. Yeah, 8.96. Yeah, so I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to run any further. So that's it. Then says, if you want a true PR for a 5K, you need to run on the track. Well, that'd be a 5,000 meter PR, but it wouldn't be a 5K PR. I think if we're going to be nitpicky. I think having a little bit of that wiggle room is the reason why they're called 5Ks and not 5,000 meters. Um, guys, my daughter, that Bing you just heard is my daughter asking, because I have it set that they can't download apps without parental permission. And so basically, I know when my daughter is watching like YouTube, and ads come on TV, because then I'll get like 3 or 4 like download this app, download this app, download this app. Commercials are getting shown to her, and she's like, "Oh, I do want to watch that," and then she'll like ask to get it, and so I'll get a lot of messages right away. Right now, my daughter's asking for Snapchat. I don't want her to have Snapchat, and we've talked about it a bunch of times, but she still asks me like 2 times a week, 3 times a week. But that's what that text was. Uh, all right, let me scroll down. I'm way far behind than you guys in the chat. So, Super Ninja says, I feel really proud of myself when I let myself stop at 0.98 or whatever. It's like punching back against the OCD desire to track everything perfectly. I'm proud of you too, Super Ninja. I feel like it's funny, it's growth, and it's also recognizing like it all comes out in the wash later. Like I don't really. I always say it's like weeks and month, not reps and days. And so it's like it's like every one day doesn't matter. It's about what happens. Over the entire week. So I do get obsessive. I'm like, oh, I'm close to 70 miles this week. If I just add 2 miles here and 1 mile there, then and so sometimes I'll end up with like a 9.3 mile run, which normally I wouldn't do because of that. That's one where I can't resist that, Mm-hmm. World's okayest mountain biker, which is a great name to have, says, I'm racing my first 5K in September, coming down from the half. I'm thinking Metaspeed Sky for this. Metaspeed Sky is fine if that's what you have. I don't really, unless you're a 5K person, I don't think you need to go out and buy a specific 5K shoe. If you're a marathoner, like your marathon shoe is probably great for racing 5Ks. Someone asked me about it, about like I ran in the Fast R3. They were like, well, what is that? Is it worth, would you get the Fast R3 for a 5K? Or do you still like the Takumi Sen? I'm like, I still kind of prefer the Takumi Sen for a 5K over like almost any marathon shoe. But at the same time, I'm like, the Fast R3, if you have the Fast R3, you already paid $300. Use it for your 5K race. It's a great option. If you already have the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo or Metaspeed Sky Paris, use it for your 5K. It's a super light shoe. It's lighter than most other racing shoes out there, and it's going to be a super fun option. But if I were picking a shoe just for the 5K, Takumi Sen is still probably at the top of my list. I feel like the Streakfly might be fun, but my feet are going to hurt at the end, and my Achilles might be grumpy later. But I would also look at Deviant Nitro Elite 3. I'd probably pick that for a 5K over the Fast R3, regardless of what your foot strike is, just because for a 5K race, I think it's better. And I'd pick Edge over Sky for if I'm solely looking at 5K and I'm picking from marathon shoes. All right. CV76 says, my daughter too is asking about getting Snapchat. Are the kids still using Snapchat? I thought that died. I thought that was done. I don't know. Someone was saying that, like, someone was explaining to, not to me, but I was listening to something recently where someone was talking about Snapchat, and they're saying, like, it's not really a place where you discover things, so there isn't as much of an algorithm, I think. Or there is, I don't know. I couldn't figure out what they were saying, but it seemed like it was more a place that you go when there's people you already want to talk to. And you don't spend time on it just like randomly looking at other random people like you do on Instagram. So I was like, oh, that sounds nice. But I don't know, just the whole disappearing chat aspect of it, I don't love. Although maybe that's great. I don't know. I'm going to talk to my wife about it some more. Although I know her answer is going to be she's against it, you know. Carlos Riego says, running the Duke City half in October with my 3 oldest kids, and they all want to start and leave their old man at the start. That's what the kids, they just want to embarrass us, don't they? Yeah. Aubrey Series says, I'm now fired up to run Sydney super hard. When I say super hard, I mean like sort of hard. All right, Aubrey, I didn't know you were going to be there in Sydney. This is awesome. We'll have to connect. Get together over there. This is cool. This is going to be good. It's going to be good. Awesome. Excellent. Okay. Let's do... Oh, Mark Johnson says, I just ran my fastest 5K in the DVA Nitro Elites. Great shoe. I think it's good for 5K. Kravitz says, no unboxings. And Brian also says, did we talk OTQ yet? We did not talk OTQ yet. I mentioned it a little bit on the... Relay podcast the other day. We talked about it there last week, where they kept the women the same. And then... Oh, wait, did we talk about... I think we did talk about it. Because I don't think I mentioned it on the Relay podcast, that the women are the same number and the men are 2 minutes faster, 2:16 now. And now the women and the men get to use chip time rather than gun time, which I didn't realize this. I think if you want to know about OTQ, you got to listen to the interview that Ali Feller had. That is the definitive interview discussion to have on the new standards. She had the best questions. She had the best guests, chairs from the men's and women's long distance committee at USATF. So super cool. I learned a lot from that. But it's also kind of like, you know, it seems like a lot of the discussions that they're having are about, they are aware of kind of like motivating athletes to stay in the sport. So it's like a kind of a professional development system as well. And they mentioned the importance of that. And then they also brought out the A and B standard because they were saying they had some sort of town hall, which I guess anyone can go, virtual, which I just need to get on the email list for that. And I think they just let anyone on there. And I would go and listen. They're saying a lot of the athletes were like, you know, we don't care about like getting like everything paid for and all that stuff. We just want to have our chance to run, to get into this race and run there and be there. They just want to be there. And that's kind of like what I was saying, where I'm like, you know, if we're having such a hard time having host cities host it, you know, like, I don't know. Do we get a thing where it's like we invent something called like the marathoner pro card or whatever, and you have to have a pro card to be able to run this race, and there's a fee of like $1,000 or something like that to get your pro card, or just pay to get to the race. You have to pay for the race, and it's expensive because think about how much the McCurdy marathon thing is. I forget what it's called, and then there's the other one in Arizona too. Those are expensive, and make it more expensive than that, but you get a chance to run it. And yeah, it's kind of, you're gouging people a little bit, but it's going to pay for the race. Hopefully brands will be able to pay for it for their sponsored athletes. And if their athletes have a kit only kind of contract, maybe hopefully they would pay for that, or find a way to pay for that. And then it helps defray a lot of the hosting costs for the organization. And then if they could do a thing where you also attach a participation race, maybe it's a 7-lap course, and you let there be a mass participation race where it's a weird distance and people get to run 2 laps of it, you know, again, as a way of just generating some revenue. So that way these things don't become guaranteed money pits for even submitting a bid, you know? So that's what I think is important. I think that's like, I'm more like the times are times. People will step up. I think that the men's time is probably fine. The women's time, I think, I'm surprised it didn't change. But like, I guess they had fewer women there than they were expecting. So that's why it stayed the same. The window's nice and long, which could be problematic later, but I think it gives more people a chance to get there. So overall, I think it's good. But the things that are most interesting to me is that, like, what are they doing? How are they going to keep people in the sport? You know? Okay. And Brian says, my mind has definitely turned to mush in this training block. I was definitely here for the OTQ talk last Monday. Okay, so we did talk about this. Yeah. Yeah. That like pro card thing, that was a new idea that I had though. But yeah. All right. While I was doing that, I was opening this box. And this is the box I was here last time, but I couldn't open it because it was under embargo until like the day after live stream, but now it's here. But here we go. This package is from Adidas Feel Fast in the Adizero Evo SL. It says speed never goes out of style, born from the DNA of our fastest rustler breaking shoe, the Pro Evo 1. The Evo SL delivers speed and effortless style. Experience the feeling of fast in the Adizero Evo SL wherever life takes you. And this is a fancy box. This isn't just shoes. This is one of those influencer packages. It's hard to get out. Fastest Adizero. Andrew Scott says, thoughts on the Evo SL as a travel shoe? I love it as a travel shoe. It's great in the airport. It's a little bit roomier than most daily trainers are. So like for the feet expanding during the pressurization of the cabin and all that, and from being dehydrated on the flight, it's actually really nice to live with. Oh, this is pretty. So far it feels very French. The sticker is too strong. Ooh, there's a lot of things in here. So I was expecting like a summer package from here. So we got this thing in here first. Fastest. Look at this. Temporary tattoos. Oh my goodness, this is so funny. I don't know if they meant to put these in here ironically or non-ironically or what, but these are very funny temporary tattoos. This one says is going to be a heart with the word run inside. See, there's that. And then this is fast lane. Ooh, and then there's this one. Oh, I like this one a lot. I mean, they're backwards, but they're a tattoo, so they'll be right when you put them on. Fastest Adizero, and then a Guy Fieri style flame. So fun stuff. There's other ones in here too, but there we go. And then some really tall socks. I'm too old to wear these socks, or I'm old and so I feel like these socks are too tall. One or the other. Yeah. And then, oh, this is a nice fastest Adizero. It's a tote. I keep saying I could always use another tote, and now I have so many totes. But I like this one. It's like made out of recycled something, kind of. That's what it feels like. Not quite the stuff that IKEA bags are made out of, but something kind of similar. What are these? Cadence electrolyte supplements, 500 milligrams of sodium plus potassium, magnesium, and caffeine. Grapefruit flavor, 30 sachets. Take it 1 hour pre-training. It's to boost hydration before training, and during training, take one to boost longer training sessions. Yeah, 100 milligrams caffeine. That's a lot. But yeah, 0 sugar and calories. But there's that. And then a t-shirt. Feel fast. It looks like it says feet fast, but it says feel fast. Apex Expression Design DNA. Peak Performance. And then feel fast on the back. This is a very 90s vibe. This whole thing. Between the t-shirt, the flames. A lot of 90s vibe going on here. And then we've got a summer colorway This is pretty. Look at this. It's like, it's not gum, but it's gum colored on the, I don't think it's gum, but it's gum colored on the bottom. This is sharp. I like this. And so right now, what you're seeing is the shoe is looking a little bit blue on the upper. The shoe is white. I think that's just some color bleed happening on camera. The blue of this is affecting the way that the white is being perceived by the camera. But it's white. It's a pretty crisp white. And then a very, very bluish blue, unless that's purple. But anyway, there we go. Kind of wants to know, why did this have an embargo? I think it's because it was a summer launch, and so they wanted that summer launch color to all happen on June. I think it was a Global Running Day thing too. So this is a summer color that they wanted to, I think they wanted to have content come out on Global Running Day that wasn't specifically Global Running Day, you know? So, yeah. So that's why it was. Midlife Runner says, pain is temporary and so are these tattoos. Yeah. Eric says, it's the Adizero NPR tote. And Patrick says, you can bring the tote to Costco since they don't have bags. Yeah, I know. I do bring all my totes to Costco, but you know what? I ended up they just stay in the car now because I just bring the cart out. And a couple of trips ago, I went with Solomon to Boulder, and they give us something called a Rux box, which is basically, it folds down, but I always leave it unfolded. But it's like a box you leave in your car. I think it's meant for people that do camping or picnics and stuff. And I just throw most of my groceries in that, and then I bring that inside. But yeah, I could use the totes for that too. The totes are useful summertime too with the kids, because whenever we're going somewhere, whether it's the beach, we have a beach bag, but like when I go rock climbing with the kids, or just whenever I take them somewhere, it's useful to have everything and just jam it into a tote. So that's been useful. So yeah. Daniel Burton wants to know, is it a racing shoe? It's not a racing shoe. It's a daily trainer that looks like the Evo SL, but it's an older version of Light Strike Pro foam in here, Adios Pro 3 caliber Light Strike Pro, but there's no energy rods in here. I think people tell me that there's some sort of shank in there. I don't remember them Adidas telling me that, but I'm sure they're right. I'm not going to quibble with that. But yeah, so it's basically like get to experience Light Strike Pro. And the upper is more of like a daily training style upper. So there's a little bit more padding, a little bit more comfort, a little bit more room, you know. What does it smell like? It smells kind of plasticky. Like, see this stripe? What you think this stripe smells like is what the shoe smells like. Yeah, it's not bad. It's got a little bit of hint of citrus in there. I know that's not actually citrus, but whatever chemical that is, it kind of tricks your nose into thinking it's citrusy. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in either a lab or a mechanics that has the orange. It's not, I don't know, the color's not orange of the soap, but it smells like citrus orange real strong. And whatever it is that it is designed to cut through grease, that chemical hits the molecules hit your nose in the same way that like orange hits your nose. So it smells like orange, even though it's not orange. There's a little hint of that here. Yeah. Calvin says, the new Adizero tagline, smell our stripes. Yeah, Midlife Runner says, I'm holding out for touch of lavender. No, there's no touch of lavender, but it could be, as Eric says, a PFAS lemon lime. Oh man, can you imagine if like later it turns out me huffing all these shoes makes me sick? That'd be unfortunate. I think I would need to like be smelling these all day, every day for that to happen. Even if there were volatile chemicals in here, I think I'd have to do a lot more smelling, but yeah. Cosmo Flying Omega says, Matt from Doctors of Running was convinced that there was a nylon plate in the Evo SL. He said, it feels too long to just be a midfoot shank. I don't feel anything in there. So I think that, what is it? Run Repeat. What's the one that always cuts open the shoes and then they put it in the freezer for some reason? That guy. They're very thorough. I've seen the site. I've looked at a couple of different shoes in there, and it's been helpful for me to understand shoes sometimes too. Like when I was looking at the CLOX one, I was like, what is happening in this shoe? Like that was actually pretty, that's a good website to look at if you're interested in cut open parts of shoes, which I normally am not, but every once in a while I'm like, what's going on inside here? So I guess if we look there, they would help us figure out how long it really is. Yeah, Eric says Run Repeat is really good. Yeah, I think some of the tests that he does, I'm like, those are, like, I like the microscope shots because I like both microscopes and macros. So those are fun. I think the ones where he's like putting the Dremel tool to stuff, I don't like that as much. I do find when he fills the shoe with like gelatin or whatever to get the volume of a shoe to measure it, I think that's pretty clever. It looks gross, but it's clever. I like that. I don't really need that, but it's an interesting thing that he does. And I think if shoe volume is really important to you, maybe you got a foot that a lot of times shoes don't fit right. I could see that being very useful to some people. It's not that useful to me. But there's some stuff that he does that I think is pretty cool. Other stuff I'm like, I don't know why, I don't think we need to do all that. But yeah, but it's good. There's at least consistency and methodology there, which I can appreciate. You know. Johnny Dodge, listen to this one. Still praying for the stripe on your Pro Evo 2. Is it still hanging on? Let's see. Here's the stripe. It's still here. It's still barely hanging on. So like, here's the stripe on my Pro Evo 2 that got people really upset. So if you look at it, like here's how far it comes off on this side. And then even on the front end, it's starting to peel off too. So there's an extremely small amount of adhesive holding on to this. Like a little corner right here is all it's got left. I think 2 or 3 more workouts and this is done. By the time I get this to 100 miles, this stripe will not be there. If it's there, that'll be amazing. It's the little stripe that could. Yeah, Eric says it's dangling like a fishing lure. And Aaron Scott says, honestly, that's outrageous for a $500 shoe. I'm like, yes, it is, but also like I think that I'm cavalier about it because I didn't have to pay for this shoe. And I feel like if you were someone that's like, that's the shoe, it's going to be it. I have a really big, audacious goal. I think the shoe's going to really work for me. And I have to save and put aside money for it. And I want to look good, feel good, race good. All that, it would be really disappointing if that happened because then it feels like you're coming in with a jalopy over the finish line. I understand that. But at the same time, it just doesn't bother me all that much. I don't know. Yeah, but I understand people that are upset about it, but it doesn't bother me. But I didn't have to pay for it. So I guess that's my take on it. Okay. All right. I think that's a good place to leave it for today, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Kind of a little bit bummed that I think that the consensus is that this 5K course was indeed short. I'm not sure why it turned out that way, but that's where we're at. And it was about a 3-mile race instead of a 3.1, however much it's supposed to be. So I guess I'll have to race another 5K at some point, maybe. What's everyone doing this weekend? I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe next week I'll do one. I'll see if there's one locally around. Maybe someone can pace me to like an 18:30. I feel like that's the key. I gotta find someone to pace me. That'll make it easier. All right. But yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with me video-wise this week. I am going to work on the run a video for the recap and for the race itself. And then I got some shoe reviews that I'm working on. Nothing's really ready, and I don't want to rush. So I don't know. Plus, my wife's out of town. So I've got the kids by myself. They're upstairs hanging out, asking to download apps. But So my time is, and they're on summer vacation now. So I'm like, I got to go ice skating, bike riding. We're going to go to the pool. So I don't know when it'll come out, but I will be able to do another live stream next Thursday. I'll see you guys then. All right, guys. Thank you.